Hey everyone, welcome back to That's Growth Ops. It's been a while since our last episode, and we've been diving headfirst into the world of AI with our launch of our Breeze cohort. Now, in this episode, Chris and I are catching you up on everything we've been working on, from the ins and outs of HubSpot's new AI tools to the challenges of incorporating AI into real-world businesses, and why a growth mindset is more critical than ever in this evolving landscape. Chris and I also explore the human side of AI, share some unexpected aha moments from our cohort sessions, and reflect on what this technology means for the future of work. If you're curious about the intersection of AI and growth operations, or just want to hear us talk about life, leadership, and our Spotify playlists, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. All right. Welcome back to That's Growth Ops. It's been a minute, Chris. It's been a minute. We've been busy at growth with Breeze. So
I think I got married maybe between the last time.
Yeah, you got
Did
married.
That happen?
Yeah, it happened. Yeah.
All sorts of things. Yeah, I feel it's been too long. So sorry for life happening. But season 1, we're still working out the kinks. I appreciate everybody bearing with us.
Yeah. I think we've got some exciting things on the horizon for season 2. I'm excited about that. And let's just chat about what we've been up to the last few weeks. I know we launched the let me say that again. We launched the Breeze cohort.
We did.
About HubSpot's Breeze AI tools. I'm so ecstatic about that. You know how much I love AI. What do you think? How's it been going?
What? It's been going very well. Short answer. It's been going very well because we've been able to connect with a lot of really positive attitude, growth mindset operators at dozens, 100 companies now about the tool. And so I think it's created, I've been using this term safe place. There's a real conversation happening and there's real curiosity. And that feels so good to curate, because when Breeze was announced, that's exactly where I wanted to go and learn about it, and it simply didn't exist. So, and in hindsight, how little did we know when we launched this cohort? We thought we went through everything there was and knew nothing in consideration. It was only 5 weeks ago.
Yeah. Chris, by the way, had this crazy plan just on the fly coming back from inbound, and said, Rich, we're doing this. And we just kicked into gear and ran with it. And I'll stand behind that too. It has been really interesting, as we prepare for each session. So there's 4 sessions to the cohort. And as we prepare for each session, there's a little bit of preliminary work we do. And then a couple of days beforehand, we'll touch base again. And it's just the Easter eggs I find when preparing for day of that have been okay, we need to bring this in. I think the update around inclusivity was really interesting and cool. And everybody that we've been implementing for is turning that on.
Oh my God. I love that. And to level set for the people in the room that are what the hell are you talking about? Here's how I describe it. Breeze, or Breeze by HubSpot, is the suite of AI tools inside of HubSpot. Not separate, inside. That's it. Their version is much longer and confusing.
I love you going through it on every session, and then our version's 5 words.
Yeah, classic, right? Well, and then we also have to open these cohort sessions. One of the realities of AI is that it requires data. There's still a lot of confusion around data ownership and best practices, and then what happens with your data. And there's the scary and the exciting. So we do start, we're going to have our 3rd cohort. We've done 2, and we started off with a disclaimer. This is not legal advice. Legal resources are out there. And if you pay us, you're covered by our insurance policy and our best practices. But this is simply a group session. But kind of smart that we added that.
Yeah, I do. I want to touch on that because I think it's so important. The care that HubSpot has taken with using these models and how they're rolling it out. And, if you have sensitive data, the models can't access it. It's not being trained on that. They took a lot of care, obviously being the size of company they are, they have to, but I feel that is really important because people just don't get that. Okay, I'm going to download my customer list. I'm going to throw it into Clay. I'm going to throw it into GPT. Where is that information going? And it can be really concerning. It can be used in a lot of different ways that you don't know. So I like what HubSpot has done there, and they're pretty upfront about it. They have that whole trust center.
I want to quickly say, you made a statement that HubSpot is a large company, so of course they're doing the right thing. That's not actually how the equation works. FYI, but HubSpot is doing things the right way. They are being transparent, but I think that's like just one of the many things that speaks to why, as like the why one of the reasons that I have enjoyed being a partner of HubSpot and have leaned so heavily into it is like not the requirements of doing things the right way and being good humans. That's like literally in their DNA. So yeah. Big HubSpot fan, partner by choice, crushing it by hard work. And we're still fairly new to the universe, 4.5 years, but every year I can say like I put full energy, cash money, everything into the relationship because the roadmap of working with them is continuing to just fly. So shout out HubSpot again. Salesforce, you're okay too, but let's be honest. Mark's all about that money. Come on.
Speaking of Salesforce and AI and Apollo, tools like that, they're all starting to ramp up big AI programs too.
Yeah.
I think like Jesse was showing me their new on Apollo, their AI power-ups and how you can start those conversations. And you have flexibility inside of the prompt, which is really cool. So one of the caveats that I found with a few of these AI tools is that you can't really customize the prompt. So a guy like me that likes to get under the hood and really change how the output is going to be, I found in some of these tools, I don't have that access. So I lose a bit of control. I lose the finesse that I'm used to having. But what I saw in the power-ups was really cool, where you can actually get in and customize the prompt.
Is that an area you think HubSpot could improve?
Definitely think that there's an area for that. I think maybe it comes with a super admin permission set for that, where you can just, because right now it's basically, I'm going to fill in a couple form fields and it works off of that. I might want to be able to, and I think you might have seen it when I was demoing Copilot, was there's the base prompts that you can click on and just run with. But what there wasn't in my mind was an ability to go, okay, I want to just add a little bit more to what I'm asking for so that I get what I want the first time, closer to what I want the first time.
So I remember a slide in like a HubSpot partner meeting like of yesteryear where they like described their development process of being like skateboard, bike, car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that evolution. And I think what you're seeing is the skateboard, whereas not every company takes that approach and they try to build a car and the wheels fucking fly off like, 3 or 4 miles down the road. So, but that just takes like an awareness of the platform. You know what I mean? The pros and cons. And for some, it feels harder to go. I mean, I can recognize there's times where it's harder for me to go slow because I want to go fast, but it rarely works that way. So not that I need to like cover for HubSpot, keep doing things how you're doing it, but I've learned a lot from being in their ecosystem for years and it's helped me slow down. And I think I'm a better company for it. Apollo is great too. Like they got some good things happening.
Yeah. And, I look at it kind of like Apple too. They may not be the quickest to getting new features in, but they are very polished when they're in. They're pretty seamless. There's a reason for that.
Let's talk about real quick. Have you messed with Gemini? Did you see like the Mark Benoff, like Salesforce CEO founder, be like, yo, Gemini is crazy? And I was like, okay, if this guy's talking about Google's product this way, I've only spent 30, 45 minutes with it. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I've played with it a little bit. I'm a little bit restricted because I'm in Canada, so I've got to VPN it.
Oh, well, we steal your holidays and your freedom. Sorry about that.
Steal away. No, yeah, no, it's great. Claude too. I've been playing a lot with Claude.
Never logged into that one yet. Or I did like one prompt with Perplexity. It just felt like, it felt to me like Snapchat did from like a marketing technology, like cool, but I didn't see the runway with it. And I know people message on Snapchat, but like from a marketing perspective, it's still like not worth it. So I'm glad I didn't invest much time into that platform early on. And that's what I feel about Perplexity and Claude. They're the Snapchat of AI. And I could be wrong. That's just, that's the marketer in me talking shit.
Where I'll say it shines, and this is totally biased. I'm a developer at heart. I like to code things. There's an IDE, so a development platform called Cursor, which is basically Visual Studio's code editor. But they've wrapped it with several different AI wrappers. So you can access OpenAI, you can access Claude, you can access Gemini. You can sign up for all those services on your own, or you can sign up for Cursor's Pro plan. And inside of there, I found that the Claude outputs are far superior to a technical degree when writing code. I could be sitting there writing things in ChatGPT and it is constantly making errors. It's forgetting how you built something. In this, it basically can spit you out your MVP, and then you go, you know what, I want to make this blue, or I want to use this visual framework, and it'll recode everything on the fly for you.
Is that mostly design code, or would you say like development code too, meaning like, data code?
Data code, visual code. So integrating with HubSpot, you can quickly write.
You might need to show this to Amy, because
I did. It's in the ops channel. I shared it over to her and Nathan.
How recent?
I've been using. It was probably like last month, I think. But
we might need to follow up on that.
Might need to do a little bump on the thread.
That's pretty major. That's pretty major.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool from that aspect. Copy wise, I think it follows instructions a little bit better too, with tonality and style. But GPT is great, so they're all great. Yeah. Find the right.
It's the best all around, right? Like that's your go-to, and then it makes sense to me that there's probably some more niche platforms before you're like, I want to dive into leveraging AI because I haven't done it yet. Come on, Grandpa. 2, ChatGPT is easy enough to enter in. Get into the game. Level 1 situation.
Another great one, and I was playing with this over the weekend with my wife, is Notebook LM. Have you seen this one? Where you basically can give it a link to a website or paste a transcript in. And it's originally created as a research tool. But what people have found and been able to do is I'll paste in a link, and it will create a 2-person podcast having a conversation about what you gave it. Yeah.
I saw the other side. Is this the one where then they had like versions of these speaking personas?
Yes. So that one went a step further, because this just gives you the audio, but they took it a step further and put some digital avatars on it, made it feel so incredibly real. And it's good.
That was creepy.
It's really good. Yeah.
I mean, like, as a way to, your wife is a small business owner and helps people with like learning financial literacy, right? So I can imagine like what a great way to take a solopreneur and scale the messaging, and very cool. Yeah. Cool for a lot of use cases, but I can definitely see the use cases for that. Shout out.
Shout out Queenie. What's really cool about it too is like when you do put a blog article in, it'll say, we got this really awesome source. Her name is Queenie Way. And then it goes in and it like quotes her and stuff like that. So it's really cool. It's really cool.
I might need that for my ego on like rough days.
Yeah, we'll take a growth post by Chris Null. We'll throw it in there, and Chris, just quoting Chris,
the legendary and often mystical. That's how I describe myself to myself.
Yeah.
It's having the conversation with as many people as we've had now, with as many companies they represent, about the willingness or non-willingness around using the tool feels like a recurring conversation just around technology and things. There's like intrepidation and excitement, and I heard a thing, so that's probably true. Or what? It's been interesting just kind of seeing how people engage. What are Now that you've worked hands-on with some clients, what are some of the things like the aha? Have you come across an aha moment for any of them?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was very similar to my own aha when I was setting up our AI settings for growth. Being able to dig in and get a better understanding, like maybe your industry is manufacturing, but like the industry you serve. And what a lot of people, when they're building out like their target markets and their ideal customer profile, they're very focused on what that industry is, but there's a lot of nuances and niches within that. And maybe you serve 5 of them better than the 6th. So the aha moment, it was actually working with CPAs and being able to exclude people from their target market based on some of those sub niches, and they're going, oh wow, this is really going to help me save time and target the right people.
That feels good, because that's a challenge in marketing, right? Like you hire a new marketing director, they hop in and they've like got big dreams, but then still it's like, almost like I've seen it a million times, shooting way too big. And one of the reasons is not wanting to lose a potential opportunity. And we can empathize with that, man. I deal with that every day.
Yeah, but the problem with that wide net is you end up talking to so many people that really just aren't a fit. And you end up, in my opinion, losing out on the opportunity that is a fit because you spent all your time dealing with the non-fit. So being able to go
Dan
into...
Tyre.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love Dan Tyre. But being able to go into, say, HubSpot's buyer intent and filter that down and being able to see who's already looking at you on the intent basis. So they're going to your pricing page, they're looking at your services, and being able to actually dig that down. Traditionally, you'd have to look at Google Analytics, but you wouldn't know who that person is. Yeah. I mean, there's ways to surface that information. And I think that really, HubSpot's dedication to inbound is really present in that intent. It's because these people are already coming to you. So that's the low hanging fruit. Go after that.
Very wise. Right? Very wise. I think people get caught up too when you say AI, it's like one tool to rule them all type situation. And really, even as we are exploring the options, it makes perfect sense to have access to more than one tool and more than one component, and so you can do a lot of drafting and communicating outside of HubSpot about how you want to direct the superpower. Then you can bring that into HubSpot. The biggest thing is leaving your information inside that beautiful orange box or blue box for agents with Salesforce, but like not pulling it out, putting it somewhere else, and then bringing it back in. And while it's not a perfect system and it doesn't, make rainbows appear automatically yet, getting in the habit and the best practice of doing that as these tools accelerate and get better, you are leaps and bounds ahead of your competitors, like even other functions and within your company by already having established those good habits.
Yeah. Well, imagine like being able to onboard a new sales guy, right? You're bringing them in. You're going to hand them, in some cases, you're going to hand them a list of people to talk to, probably a current book of business. They don't know anything about that prospect. And what did we learn through an acquisition of another agency? The tribal knowledge is never documented as well as the company thinks. So when you have a new salesperson coming in, they can go in and they can just say, tell me about Chris. I'm preparing for a meeting, and it can start to tell them. And then, okay, well, what's the communication style that Chris likes? And it can show me that based on all of the threaded engagement information that's already inside of HubSpot. Yeah. So you've now got a real-time tribal knowledge that's updating instantly with every interaction. And that's being backed by machine learning and AI. That time to getting that rep in it's going to, like, getting them trained, it's going to decrease so much.
So much. That was like kind of the thing, that the message that I started to put together working with this cohort with you is, when we're looking at ROI, and to me, just compared to all the other tools and software we spend, like what HubSpot is charging today for their stuff is like nothing. But when you start to look at the time saved, even day one, but first day 30 and day 60 of using it stacks. Like if you've got a couple of marketing people and now they can draft blog posts and edit blog posts and scale a good blog post so it's 5 industries in just a couple of clicks, and it's so much time. I think it's one of the reasons. I mean, they save, I don't want to get the number wrong because it's scary. I feel like it's 300 million, but let's say it's 100 million. 100 million jobs, people that are in job roles today. Those jobs will not exist in 2030. And I think that's probably a realistic, but probably even a little low. And those are jobs like marketing admins, content writers. Good luck. Social media managers. I mean, there's still use for the people, just the volume, the strategy, the execution, those windows it has taken to get the work done is going to drastically reduce. So instead of needing 2 or 3 people or roles, you might be able to condense them to one. And I don't think the market's going to make 300 million companies appear to fill that gap. I think companies that are leveraging these tools are going to grow, and the barrier to entry to compete is going to be harder.
Definitely. I think that I'm also, I'm hopelessly optimistic that it's not we're going to
love that about you.
Remove people. Thank you. It's not going to remove people. It's going to raise the bar to what can be output.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm hopelessly optimistic, but
I'm just saying the world needs a couple more plumbers. So if you're not loving what you do now, or you're not trying to get on this AI stuff, man, learn how to plumb.
Or if you are a plumber,
go learn to do AI. The reason, like human empathy and the scariness around the change, like I can acknowledge.
Yeah.
However, if these things are true, is being passive or non-participatory in the evolution, like I don't have a lot of empathy for that, because that's I've had to change and grow. Yeah, but I guess I don't want to get misquoted that way. Like here's the thing.
I'll take it.
There's the side's up, right? Like, hey, the side's here. It says danger. If you fall off the mountain that says don't hike this trail, like I would still feel awful for you and your family and friends. A little part of me would be like, you're an idiot. So day one, just go to ChatGPT and start at least messing with it and get day one experience in there.
I mean, if my 65-year-old mother can produce 4 blog posts a month, 13 LinkedIn posts, 2 videos, and an entire social media strategy on a genealogy business, and you're not doing it, my empathy is very low.
First of all, she did create an AI wizard. Let's take a second. Have we talked about how we've met in this show? I can't recall.
We might have touched on it. I don't know if we've ever really dug into it.
Let me sing a little rich praise on a recorded line.
Yes.
No, this is unprompted. I will not accept the Venmo that you just sent me for $50. Okay, so Rich and I met in the HubSpot ecosystem. He was a solopreneur doing very cool stuff with Chirp. We met at Inbound 2020. First person I met in person in the whole universe at that point. And he had launched a tool called Growth Bank. Very on brand. But he was looking for people to purchase subscription to Growth Bank. And essentially it was one of the first things that I had seen of being able to type in brand voice and rules and guidelines. So that way you could create content. And of course, it's only as good as the tools. And the tools were literally hot off the shelf at that point, 2022.
Oh, yeah.
But you could see the vision in 2 ways. One, the mental capacity for putting these tools together is you were the only one at the time that I had met that was doing these things, that wasn't behind like a Facebook wall, meaning like the company, not just knowing them. That was insane to me. You could just see how fast the pieces were moving. And then to build the tool and bring it to market, like that was incredibly powerful. So like while we're at inbound, full transparency, people, he asked me while I was at a bar.
It's the best way to make a sale.
I am in. Who cares how much it cost? I made the payment and I was in. But part of it was like, one, I've always had a battle with copywriters. Always. I still have it. Where they treat it more as an art than a function. And 20 years of agency life, that's gotten frustrating. So I saw the value there of trying to find a new way of doing that felt right to the customer and to the business. Two, man, I just knew that getting to know you was going to be worth it. And I didn't know in what way. And I definitely would have never expected for you to join Growth at that time anyway. So like best investment I've ever made, hands down.
Thank
you. That's how we met, everybody. So
yeah,
now you know.
You know, that product was probably one of my favorite things to work on because the way that I built it is like the way I build a lot of things. I'm trying to solve a problem so that I can get something done quicker and more efficiently. And I would build each of the prompts so that I could do that. And then I'd figure out a way to combine it. And then I put a UI on it. And then I was like, okay, hey, I got something here. And then I even took that and made Sprint Writer. I don't know if I ever showed you that project, but that was basically taking an entire content production flow and putting AI behind it as well, where it would do keyword research. It would do all this and tell you the pieces of content you need to write, do a full blog article, and then you could publish it.
And then we were trying to come up with a way where we could use AI to create websites, right? Because I was like, hey, man, I really am so annoyed. I still am, universe, with how long it takes to help companies get a new website.
Yeah,
there's only so many things you can do. Like we now have free themes on the HubSpot marketplace, so you don't even need to hire us if you want a website. That's how passionate I am about reducing the friction of a new website. But also pay us if you want that. But yeah, that was a project that we couldn't get off the ground. And then HubSpot was like, boom, introducing new AI websites. Now, I will say I was excited. Many people were upset. I get it. But I haven't seen that tool mentioned ever again at HubSpot. Is it still there?
It's Content Agent. That's what it became.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So what you and I were talking about too, just to get some more context, was being able to visually see a really unique design and be able to put in like these are the brand colors and a design is spit out to really cut down that. And so that the customer had something really unique. What most of these generators have done, no flack to HubSpot, because I still think a V1 is better than none, is basically we have a structure and we're just going to plop content into it for you. Whereas what we were talking about obviously had that, but also here's the visual elements to it. Not just here's a little image thumbnail that's going to go on the right column, but here's what a hero banner would look like. Here's what sections would look like, and be able to take that marketing prowess of knowing what is a good high conversion page and build that in seconds. I wish that was something that we could have gotten off the ground. And we still can.
I'm glad we didn't because it would have been a waste of time, because then like the real companies that should be building would have built it and we'd been like, shit. I have a lot of respect for the people in the HubSpot ecosystem that have like a passion for building software and wanting to build a dongle and sell the dongle. Like that's not my universe. Hey, if you're out there, I might chip in financially and help something like that happen. But for me, like I love the service of the things. Probably even more now because I don't do any actual service. So I probably really love the servicing of the software.
You're also talking to the guy that built an entire LMS inside of HubSpot. So I'm nuts.
I don't think anybody, I hope more people realize your ability, because like it's so clear as day. Now with great power comes great responsibility. You've been a lightning in a bottle a few times. That's challenging. That's more my challenge than your challenge, right? Like that's, I have to figure out how to, what's that slide I use for ABM? Like you built a Death Star, it's expensive. And then you miss Alderaan because you shoot the laser in the wrong direction. That's the leader's job, is to get that Death Star
Well-
blowing the shit up out of Aldron.
Well, and we could even use Thor. Like Mjolnir is the conduit of Thor's power. So I just need someone to direct that power.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge. But I've been it's been a learning opportunity for me, for sure. I'm a better person for it. And hey, this episode could be titled "A Million Reasons I Think Rich is the Man."
Let's do it.
Yeah. Done.
Lucas.
It's true. Now, like, we talk a lot about HubSpot because obviously, like, that's big in our universe. We do a lot of Salesforce too. And I think what Mark and his company and like how they approach problem solving is different. But he was very bullish on this whole automated agent conversation before anybody else publicly was very bullish. And so I want to take a couple minutes just to talk about artificial intelligence agents, or just agents in general, and the concept, and why I, having now learned more of the tools and being involved in this cohort, am very I think I understand the vision that Mark has and Dharmesh has, and probably a million other smart people that I haven't met yet have. And then essentially in high functioning organizations, there's processes, steps that you follow. There's a little nuance and a little, knowledge mixed in there, but it's 90% process, 10% expertise. And if you can boil someone's jobs down, or really not job, because most people in a white collar job usually are doing 10, 15, 20, 25 sets of tasks throughout the week. And throughout
what's
the month.
the micro task inside of those, right?
Let's name it, right? So a marketer might be optimizing a website page. Well, what are the steps that go through that? Okay, now Agent.ai, you've shown publicly, like, you did that same exercise with us, and it was clear that a marketer came up with the website copy on the fly, and then when you iterate on it, there's a process for that, and it worked. It was great.
Yeah.
And that's, I think as leaders in organizations, like, creating change, it gives us a chance to step back and realize that is essentially one person's job is just a series of agental functions. And then if we can spend more time investing in the humans and giving them a happier, safer, better place to work so they can leverage these tools, the give and get is you might need less humans to do more things, and the things that they do might be better than without these tools. And so that's where that kind of dynamic shift is, why earlier in the episode I was talking about jobs disappearing and how big of an impact that's going to be over time, because of the DNA of a person is you do a bunch of things. So those things take time. Now we can use functions, and then, like a keyboard, you have letters. I could see a future where there's almost like an agent keyboard where you have functions. And so
have you not seen the single hand keyboards?
No.
Yeah, so
single hand?
Yeah,
no way.
So you've got basically, like, you move your index finger up or back or to the left or to the right. It will do different things, and each one of those actions can be programmed into typing, into functions. I mean, that's what the F keys on your keyboard are for already. But these single hand keyboards allow you to basically do all that stuff at record speed. So somebody that typically types maybe 70 words per minute can now type 200 words per minute.
Oh, I am so going to mess with that. Do you have two single hands, or is it one single hand? And then what do you do with this one? Just like up tempo music? You're like,
like from the ones I've seen, typically you've got one hand is for the keyboard. Some of them are actually built in with like a mouse, and then the other ones like could be the exact same but reverse.
Next level. I am going to try that out. That to me seems so crazy. I love my Logitech keyboard. Not goodness. Paid promotion, but I have been using this same. This is actually a newer one, but I've been using this same model of mouse for 13 years or more.
It looks like
it. Okay. What do you use? It glows and shit. You got like Hello Kitty on yours? Is that what it is?
Queenie's does. No, I have the nice and sleek Apple Magic Keyboard and mouse in jet black.
Of course. You're so hip.
I'm so hip. I spent extra money on a keyboard.
Hey, but I saw that you've got the numbers on there. That's like an extra $80.
Oh yeah. That's like, I am double fisting this keyboard all day long.
We need an editor stat on this episode. Okay, so when we were talking to Todd Cherner from UNC, right, and we're talking agents and we're talking AI, one of the things that Todd brought up in that episode is how, like, from day one with his master's students at UNC Chapel Hill for the Mighty program, shout out, the importance of mindset. And I feel like that's what inevitably comes into these cohort lessons and our conversations with users is just you have to approach the usage in the way that the first time you click an entry is not going to be the best time you did it. Yeah. And it's becoming very, very, very important. Like, obviously mindset's important all the time, but it is a fun, that's a weird word for this, but like it is a real and fun side effect of the more I use these tools, the more that kind of bubbles to the surface. Because if you do not approach life in that kind of way, working with AI is awful because it is an iterative process.
And try and type a massive process. Like, I don't want to say this. You can't take an entire process of doing something, like delivering an entire marketing strategy, and throw that into GPT and expect to hit gold. You're going to get a summary with a few points here and there, and then you're going to go, what the F is this? Like, I see it a lot when I see AI agencies and they're pitching services, and I get the cold email with an attachment of, here's the thing that you paid $1,000 for. I would never spend $1,000 on it, but I've seen it from people I talk to, and they're like, what do you think of this marketing strategy? And I'm like, it is not even half a page long. And I can tell it's complete ChatGPT. The horizontal rules are in it and all that. The formatting hasn't even been changed. It's not even branded. It's just like an empty Google Doc. And I'm just going like, that's the problem. So speaking to your first time with interacting with anything, your internal thought is going to be, I'm going to dump a lot in it and expect a lot out.
Yeah.
And you're going to be, that's
a good point. And like that first one that they made, they definitely should not have emailed and say, hey, this is what our service represents. Like, that is like the solar panel of services. Like, what a sketchy industry, right? Like, everybody that does it is basically dicey. Like, that's so weird. But like, you and I compared, like, you love to create a library of prompts, right? Because you're very systematic. So when we talk about, like, when we like did a review of someone, right? Like one of your employees, we went through and I showed you my prompt, and it is just a stream of consciousness. Like, these are the good things. These are the bad things. Here's what I want to focus on. Here's the areas I think are improvement. Like, what's the best way I can ask questions? Rich is learning to manage. How can I give him good questions to ask? The reason I love ChatGPT is this is how my brain has always worked. And I get mentally exhausted almost every day at work. Oh, I fucking love the fact that I can do all of that within the same prompt. And it literally is usually like this big before I hit enter. And then thanks to you making that Crystal GPT, like, I swear to God, I am so happy you made that, because the response I get, I'm like, yeah, Crystal GPT, you're right. That is exactly it. And it takes 20 minutes to get that first prompt entered.
Yeah.
But it would have taken me half a day to prep.
And that's a different use case, though. So what you're doing is creating something digestible from something that is not. You're not trying to get it to fulfill a process. You're trying to go, I need to get all of this word vomit out, everything that I've got in my head, and then I want something back that's digestible. That's what that is. And that's totally cool. But in the inverse of that, I'm trying to complete a massive project, and I'm like, well, why don't you go code me Facebook? And that's my prompt.
Have you done that?
Have I coded a Facebook? Not that way.
You're like, I had 3 or 4 more
I
prompts.
will think of it in a systematized approach, like you said. So I will start with, considering building an app like X. I'd like to have an MVP that does 1, 2, 3 features. Help me iterate an idea from that. And then it'll give me something. And then I'll go, okay, this looks great. Or this, change this. Okay, now take this and turn it into a technical overview with these pieces in it. Cool. Now I got that. Okay, now take each one of those technical overviews and turn them into what's called a user story. So how is the user going to interact with each of those features? Boom. Okay, grab that, each user story on its own. Okay, I'm going to develop this user story. Do that. So it's very systematized.
That makes sense.
Back to the agents, it's the same thing. Now, I've got an agent that would help me with the MVP brief. I have an agent that would help me take that MVP brief and create a technical overview. I would take that agent's response and then I go put it into a user story agent. And then that user story output, I'll take and put it into a development agent.
I hope whoever's listening to this enjoys the thought process behind AI and is like curious about how they can leverage it at work or in their personal life. Because there's so many ways. And like, going back to mindset, you have to be curious and you have to like experiment and not have set unrealistic expectations. Like, oh, this thing's due in 2 minutes. I'm going to type one thing and it's done.
You definitely know when someone's done that.
You definitely know when someone's done that. So we talked about like aha moments, but like, what are maybe some of the other takeaways you've had with the conversations with real companies journeying into AI with HubSpot? Or maybe like, here's a better question. Dealing with these companies, is this day one AI usage? Level 1, like level 1's like I haven't typed a prompt into ChatGPT, or like they've done a couple of things. Maybe they've got a pro GPT account.
They've done a couple of things, or they have a team member that does a couple of things. I'll tell you what I have learned on the several calls is more about the individual and the business than their usage of AI and how it's in their business. I literally wrote a book, Always Be Human. So that's my approach. We have conversations. I've learned about where they live, what they're up to, what they enjoy. That's the sales guy in me too, though. So,
and that's the human in you, man. Like, you care. It's one of the reasons I like you so much.
Yeah. So it's been good, but yeah, like their moments really is, some of it's been like, oh, I can do that. That's cool. I know in one of them, we were talking about building their brand voice and what are some terms to avoid, like, those overly cliche marketing terms of empower and best in class, bespoke. Like, nobody talks like that. Just make it human and have it talk. So what we do is I'll put in, like, we jump over to ChatGPT and I'll say, okay, so give me a list of 20 words to avoid for this specific industry that are typically cliche, overly used, and really mean nothing. Fugazi, and it'll spit out 20 great words. And we threw that in there. And then they're like, oh, I realize I could do that just to figure out that small little thing. Another one that we did was not necessarily a prompt, but it was, they didn't have their value proposition extremely well articulated, and they didn't do their homework before the session. So I sat there and I just typed into ChatGPT what they were telling me. And then I basically said, clean this up, refine it, make it for this industry. We spit it out and she was like, that's exactly what it is. And we pasted it in. So it's just being
like
able
$500
take that information and digest it and put it out, which typically old Rich, back when I had my agency, I would be sitting there for 1 to 2 hours recording a session with them, going back home, listening to that recording, typing it out because transcribing wasn't really a thing yet, and trying to pinpoint the key things they were saying and bring that power to everything we were doing. So ChatGPT for the win.
Yeah, man. I think if I had to think of, like, as a owner of a consultancy, what some of my fears are. One of the fears is like, what's the word for getting lazy? Like I'm worried that we've got complacent. Yes. I think they're, young bucks, young men like us, in our strapping 30s and 40s. I think we're in a good place because we've had 10, 15, 20 years of like hands-on practical experience pre-technology. And so we're enabled, we're empowered because we've got the brain and the experience to leverage the tool. I think, like, if I'm honest, one of my fears is 10 years from now, where these tools are so defined and so readily used that maybe these tools are locked into our brains and not given the time for the youth, the next gen, Gen Z, for them to hop in
Gen
and make
AA.
a bunch. Yeah, Gen Duracell. But for them to make the experience and the mistakes. And I came across a quote recently that is, I'm terrible at these. Experience comes before knowledge, right? And I'm worried that what we're building a universe that's not going to allow the future leaders, the future marketers, the future salespeople of tomorrow to go through those kicking the nuts to get better. That's my worry. Is that?
I mean, I'll use a personal anecdote of my own daughter, 5 years old. We have constant conversations with her about it's okay to do the hard thing. It's okay to try. It's okay to fail, because that's where the learning comes. I think as society grows, even in education, because I see a lot of conversation about AI in education and the usage of it and how kids are using it to write essays and how teachers are flacking against that. And I'm going, I think instead of getting upset that your students are using AI to write their essays, one, get rid of the essays because they don't really do shit. Two, learn how to embrace and teach culture and how to be a human, real life skills. The rest of it will figure itself out. Stop worrying about technology. It's like when the internet first came about. I remember going on to early day Wikipedia and getting the information I want and pasting it in. Now, if we could teach people to not just copy and paste and go, how do I now take that fact and expand on what it means to me? I think that has more value.
Yeah. Now, I was going to say, like, well, are we going to interrupt the human experience? But maybe the human experience, 10 years from now is just a different version, right? Like, it's going to be fun. They're going to be
the
fun.
Human experience.
Make the experiences.
It's weird, right? With all the VR, the AR, the human experience is already really weird. So why not just try to make life enjoyable?
That's like my MO. Like, I'm trying to have a good day every day. Even on a bad day, I'm going to make it a good day.
Exactly. So, yeah. Go ahead.
I guess I'm just like kind of trying to like wind down a little bit, because we talk in all these episodes, we talk about a lot of heavy stuff, and we do it with like such I selfishly think a very approachable way. But like with this accidental episode topic, we chose to talk about AI, but I'm hoping that the people that are still listening to us ramble right now can appreciate that all of these tools add some level of value, that there are a lot of people out there that are figuring this out too. And there's a lot of safe places to learn. And hopefully for those that are like the go-getter types that are trying to get that money and just like build their place in the world, like this is a very exciting time for the hustle. Like you can upskill, add value, take chances, and learn and grow right now, I think, in a way that's different at any other point in my professional career.
Yeah.
So do that.
Fall on your face. Right?
A few dozen times, and like just make sure this thing stays straight. Stick some stuff in the nose that helps. The nose that's broken your nose.
I'd rather fall on my face than fall on my back. It's very icy outside.
Fall forward. I mean, and you've got feet of snow around you to soften the blow either way.
Yeah.
But I also hope everybody can appreciate knowing you a little bit better. I get plenty of spotlight, and you have such a unique brain, and you're a really good talent, man. I'm very honored to have you on the team, and it's been nice to see, you get highlighted a little bit more these days.
Well, thank you for that. I don't do well with compliments, but
it's okay. You're blushing.
For those that can't see, I'm happy. So how we typically end out here, some shameless plugs. Which ones do you got today?
Let's do, I think, shameless plugs. Well, I guess just shout out to Dharmesh, man. It's really encouraging to see somebody so successful. That dude could go to sleep tomorrow and never work again, and he's fine. I am so inspired by him grinding and being excited still. So, accidental, shout out to Dharmesh. I will shamelessly plug growth operations firm and every single individual here because I am so incredibly proud of this team and the work that we're doing. It's been really fun. It's we're really gelling now, and that is awesome. Shamelessly plug Growth Bank, man. Without that software tool, we may not have ever connected in the way that we did. And I'm glad you built it, and I'm glad it happened, man. Shout out to you too.
Yeah, maybe there's some version 2.0 someday down the road in the future, a long, long time from now.
Yeah, you learned something from it, I'm sure, and I'm sure it's already being applied and used in the day-to-day. Who are you shamelessly plugging?
I'm going to shamelessly plug. You know what? I'm going to shamelessly plug my wife, Queenie Way, Soul Vibe Capital. Without her and her patience, I would not be able to put the time in to learn all of these AI things that I love to learn and have the freedom to do that. So let's plug her in there. Well played.
Good job. Shout out Queenie. She is a beast. What's on your Spotify?
I have Moments We Live For in Paradise. I have no idea what it is. It's been a while.
I am such a sucker for cover songs. I don't know if I've shared that before, but the one I have right now, 17 Seconds In, The Sound of Silence by Disturbed.
I love that track. That is the sounds of silence. If I could get my voice to be that deep.
Whole different career path.
Yeah.
Thank everybody for listening. We've only got maybe a couple more, maybe 1 or 2 episodes for the rest of 2024, but I am so thankful from the people listening and sharing their experience, and I am super pumped. We're definitely doing heavy planning for season 2 in 2025, and it's so cool that there's a space that people actually want to hear about the universe behind the business.
Love it.
I'm loving it.
And to my American friends, Thanksgiving's coming up. Happy Thanksgiving to each of you.
What do you guys do on Thanksgiving? Nothing?
We have Thanksgiving in October.
But what do you do for our Thanksgiving?
Nothing.
Well, cool. Good to know. Good.
No, you know what we do? We shop Black Friday and Cyber Monday. That's what we do.
Get those deals, everybody. That's the shameless plug. It's deal time.
It is.
Enjoy that turkey.
Thanks, everybody.